Hello, I'm Brandon Whited, trustee with Titanic International Society, and I'm here in beautiful Abington, Virginia, and I'm here to talk about a link that this town has to a maritime disaster. It's not the Titanic or the Lusitania, but rather a much lesser known event called the Vestris. Southwest Virginia, the region, has a pretty strong link to this event. There were 4 people who lived in Southwest Virginia who were first-class passengers on the Vestris, and unfortunately they all were lost on board. 3 of those people lived here in Abington. They were a family called the Jackson family. There was the father, Ernest Alonzo, who was usually known as EA, his wife Jeanette, and their 15-year-old son Kerry. And the Jacksons were Baptist missionaries. They had been the parents had been doing missionary work since 1903. They were married December 31st, 1902, and then immediately in 1903 began doing missionary work. And in 1928 they were on their way back to Brazil after having kind of a brief furlough home here in Abington to visit family. And so they boarded the Vestris on November 10th, 1928 in Hoboken, New Jersey. And that ship unfortunately sank on November 12th, just 2 days later, due to criminally negligent overloading of the cargo. It was caught up in heavy seas and swamped, and ultimately ended up sinking with the loss of 112 lives, and among those were the Jackson family. Now I'm down here on Main Street, and right across the road from me is the former Jackson residence. Now they didn't always live there because, of the nature of their missionary work. They were often off in Brazil. They had a total of 8 children, 2 of which died in infancy. They were twins. They died very, very soon after being born. They weren't very old at all. And all the children, with the exception of one, were born in South America during missionary trips. One daughter was actually born here in Abington. She was the only one born in America. So I'm actually going to turn the camera around and show you the house. You can see, it's a very lovely 3-story brick home. Nice 2-story porch. Absolutely beautiful home. And it is obviously still a private residence. I'm not sure who the owners are at this point, or if they're aware of the connection to the Vestris. I sort of doubt it, because it's not a very noted tragedy at all. Reverend Ernest Alonzo Jackson was actually born in a nearby town called Glade Spring, and it's a very historic home there called Brook Hall, which is still standing, but is also private residence and is not easily accessible. I wouldn't really be able to film it. Busy day down here, but the Jacksons were last seen in the first class lounge, actually handing out life jackets to the other passengers. And Reverend E.A. Jackson was also known to have led some of the passengers in a prayer as the ship was entering its death throes. Here in Abington, there is no memorial to them. They're really not very well remembered at all, nor is the disaster that took their lives. Their bodies were unfortunately never found. There weren't many bodies found in the vicinity of the shipwreck, only 22 or so. But a very interesting story nonetheless. However, the dad of Ernest Alonzo was a man named Stephen Alonzo Jackson, and he was quite a prominent figure, quite an historical figure. He actually founded the Sigma Kappa fraternity for the University of Virginia, and is quite remembered. And also the mother of EA is also a noted person in Abington history because she founded what became the Washington County Public Library system with the seat here in Abington. She started loaning books out of the first floor of this house, and that became eventually an official library. So I'm going to show you the house again and just reflect for a moment, and then I'm actually going to take you to local cemetery, easily the oldest local cemetery, Sinking Spring Cemetery, and tell you a little bit more about the Jackson family and actually show you Stephen Jackson and his wife Mary's graves there. So we'll continue at Sinking Spring Cemetery.